Next on Currents News, terror in America. Explosive devices sent to Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and other prominent Americans. So far, nobody's been hurt. The story is still developing.
We have to stand up for them, darn it. We can't let them go.
New York Cardinal Timothy Dolan confronts the evil of religious persecution on an important anniversary. Christians are suffering as never before. Inside that giant migrant caravan, Central Americans talk about why they're taking the risk of marching on the U.S. border. Plus, there is a winner, a ticket to unimaginable riches after the Mega Millions drawing. The news starts right now. Explosive devices targeted at Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and other Americans are intercepted. Police barricaded the Washington home of the former president and the Clintons' residence in Westchester. In Midtown Manhattan, the Time Warner building is evacuated. That's where CNN is located, and the package was received addressed to ex-CIA boss John Brennan. So far, there have been no injuries or damage. Good evening, everyone. I'm Liz Faublas. The story is still unfolding. In addition to the Obamas, the Clintons, and Brennan, authorities are investigating links with other dangerous mailings to New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, George Soros, and Eric Holder through the office of Florida Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. The Secret Service and the FBI are heading up a massive operation to catch whoever is responsible for the terror. Natasha Chen has the latest developments.
Responding officers identified a device that appeared to be a live explosive device.
A number of suspicious packages sent to high-profile targets have sparked fears of a potential coordinated attack. Authorities say improvised explosive devices addressed to former President Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and former Attorney General Eric Holder have been intercepted. Also on Wednesday, a package with an explosive device and white powder arrived at the mailroom of the Time Warner Center building, which houses CNN's New York bureau.
What we saw here today was an effort to terrorize. This clearly is an act of terror, attempting to undermine our free press and leaders of this country through acts of violence.
That package was addressed to former CIA Director John Brennan. A similar device was also sent to the home of billionaire investor and major Democratic donor George Soros earlier this week. President Trump has been monitoring the developments from the White House with his top aides.
Acts or threats of political violence of any kind have no place in the United States of America.
A law enforcement official says that all of the devices appear to be constructed similarly. At least one of them contained projectiles with shards of glass. The source says the devices were functional.
We've seen this before, and we've seen worse, and we will not be intimidated, and we will bring these perpetrators to justice.
In Washington, Natasha Chen, Currents News.
While New York police scramble to contain the bomb threats, Arizona Republican Senator Jeff Flake was in town.
Well, obviously, it's horrible. That anytime anybody's threatened like this is not good. So there's been a lot of this going around lately. But we've got to tone down the rhetoric, both sides.
Being boosted up, security around New York ramped up by the NYPD. Police Commissioner James O'Neill said the department has been dealing with terrorism for many years. He insisted the city will not be intimidated and the perpetrators will be brought to justice. The terror directed at Christians worldwide is now worse than it's ever been.
I can't sleep at night because people are suffering for their faith.
Cardinal Timothy Dolan brings together a team of international leaders to combat the evil. The gathering takes place on the anniversary of an important international law. And Currents News' Tim Harfman is here now with more on that conference. Tim.
This is the worst time for Christian persecution in history. Each year, hundreds of thousands of worshipers suffer, even killed because of their faith. And in some countries, Christianity is on the verge of being wiped out entirely.
We have to stand up for them, darn it. We can't let them go. We love them. We support them. We're praying with them and for them. We got to advocate for them, too.
Cardinal Timothy Dolan headlined a symposium in Manhattan to raise awareness for Christians who are suffering because of their faith. Christian persecution is at an all-time high, according to Aid to the Church in Need, an organization devoted to supporting Christians who are persecuted around the world. Experts estimated 600,000 Christians suffered discrimination for their faith in 2016. In Iraq, more than half of the country's worshipers are refugees in their own homeland, and Christianity could be wiped out by 2020. The number of Christians in the Syrian city of Aleppo dropped more than 75% in recent years.
This is our legacy. This is our heritage.
The symposium featured religious leaders and human rights activists, including New York City's longest-serving police commissioner, Ray Kelly. The former top cop is now using his expertise to promote religious freedom overseas.
People are being persecuted. People are literally being killed over their religion every day. So it's a right that we have here that we should cherish and not just take for granted.
The conference recognized the 20th anniversary of the International Religious Freedom Act, which President Bill Clinton signed into law on October 27, 1998. Its goal was to advocate on behalf of persecuted people in foreign countries because of their faith.
It gives a great mission to American identity in foreign affairs, but we got to follow through. And we have to make sure that our government keeps its promise of getting aid, especially to suffering Christians.
Ed Clancy, a director from Aid to the Church in Need, has worked directly with Christians on the front lines. He says the need to act is as vital as it was 2 decades ago.
I actually believe it's more important now. The religious freedom faces, overt existential threats around the world, and it's been said many times that religious freedom is the first freedom. That if it goes, everything else will follow.
Aid to the Church in Need examined the plight of Christians in 13 countries. In 12, the situation is getting worse.
So much suffering. Tim, where do we see the issue developing most?
Well, besides the Middle East, Ed Clancy said Africa is the next hot spot if it isn't already. And he also mentioned India, where the nationalist government is pressuring the Catholic Church by shutting down orphanages created by Mother Teresa.
All right, Tim, thank you so much for that. Washington, D.C.'s Attorney General has opened an investigation into the Catholic Archdiocese of Washington. The probe comes just days after the church there released a list of 31 priests credibly accused of sexual abuse. The case dates back as far as 1948 and as recently as 1996. Most of the priests mentioned are either arrested or dead. None of those still alive are active clergymen. The Pentagon is warning the thousands of migrants marching towards the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says he is determined to stop the massive group from crossing the border.
There is no proper accounting of who these individuals in the caravan are, and this poses an unacceptable security risk to the United States.
The White House and now the military are vowing to do whatever it takes to stop the growing migrant caravan from making its way across Mexico toward the U.S. border. New estimates put the number of people on the march at 14,000. Patrick Oppman is with them.
Another dawn at the migrant caravan heading to the United States. Some get ready for the day. Children play a game as if they were still home. Others decide to sleep a little longer. Maria Antonia breastfeeds her 2-month-old daughter Estrella on the pavement where they spent the night. Maria Antonia says she's leaving Honduras so that Estrella can have a future. On the same block, Kevin asked people for coins. He's traveling alone to join an older brother in the U.S., hoping to send money back home. I came here, he tells me, so I could work and eat and help my family. Over in the town plaza, Brian is figuring out how to get back to the U.S. He will walk as long as it takes to reunite with his 3-year-old daughter, an American citizen.
She's the one who actually needs me the most, so, and I don't want her to grow up without me, so.
They have over 1,000 miles to go to the U.S.-Mexico border, where they will not be welcome.
The Trump administration is pressuring the Mexican government to deport more than 7,000 members of this migrant caravan back home because they say there could be terrorists or dangerous gang members in their midst. But literally everyone we have talked to here says the exact opposite. They're not gang members, they're their victims.
Maria Antonia says Honduras' out-of-control gangs extort everyone, sometimes for just a few dollars. That's why we came, she tells me. They charge war taxes there. If you don't pay, they kill you. She says she hopes her baby daughter is too young to remember the hell they are fleeing from and the hell they are living now. Patrick Oppman, Huixla, Mexico.
The Saudi Crown Prince is speaking out for the first time since the killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Mohammed bin Salman took part in a panel discussion at a heavily boycotted Saudi business conference, and he vowed to deeply investigate what happened to Khashoggi and bring justice to those responsible.
This was a very, very painful incident for all Saudis and also for everybody in this planet. It was unnecessary. Saudi Arabia will go and implement all necessary rules.
The Crown Prince added that those responsible will be put before the courts without any doubt. A 7th child is dead tonight from a viral outbreak at a rehabilitation center in New Jersey. The virus is called adenovirus, and it's very common. Those infected experience symptoms associated with the common cold. But this outbreak is particularly severe as the children at that New Jersey center have compromised immune systems. 11 other children remain ill. There's a lot more news headed your way. The famous Hollywood director Martin Scorsese is with Pope Francis. They're teaming up to strengthen bonds between young and old. A Syrian family owes their lives and a new start to the Holy Father. They say Francis has given them back their hope. At least one person is very rich tonight. A single ticket had all the numbers in the $1 billion plus Mega Millions drawing. And do you have a story idea, something happening in your parish we should know about? We want to hear from you. Keep this email handy, newstips@thesalesmedia.org. We'll be right back. Pope Francis and well-known film director Martin Scorsese talking together in Rome about helping young people better connect with older generations. In speaking about his New York childhood, Scorsese said he couldn't find Christ's love around him, a problem he sees for today's youth.
When we look around in newspapers and television, it seems that the world is marked by evil. We also see the painful human failings of the institution of the church itself.
The Hollywood director asked the pontiff how older generations can guide youngsters in times of trouble. Francis's advice, don't be afraid to be emotional.
Il dono del piangere. Davanti a queste violenze, a queste crudeltà, a questa distruzione della dignità umana, il pianto è umano e cristiano.
The Holy Father explained that crying softens the heart and is a source for inspiration. He said even Jesus cried during his most heartfelt moments. Tonight, an update on a Syrian family that owes the Pope a lot. Francis is more than a man of words. He also takes action. He rescued the parents and their children from the Syrian war. Melissa Butts caught up with them in their new life.
This family has begun a new life in Italy. They're far from their beloved Damascus and the rest of their family, but also far from the horrors of war, sadness, and uncertainty. This new beginning started April 16, 2016, the day Pope Francis took them out of a refugee camp in Lesbos. Coming out of the refugee camp saved us because there were too many people in that place. There were many desperate families, and at that time, the future was uncertain for everyone. For this family, their nightmare began in 2015, when they had to leave their country of Syria. After passing through Lebanon, they arrived in Turkey. From there, in a cramped ship, they reached Greece by sea. After a month in Greece, the Pope unexpectedly gave them one of the best news of their lives. First of all, it surprised us a lot. It was like a dream. With all that we went through in Syria, receiving this news made us feel very fortunate.
Pope Francis represents for his charity and certainty. I cannot express it in more words. He has given us everything.
These few photos remind them of the normality of life in a Syria full of Christians and Muslims coexisting. Syria was a country where no one asked others about their faith. Osama worked in a printing press, and Wafa was a hairdresser. They lost everything in the war, including their home.
Pope Francis has given us back our hope. He has paved the way for European countries to open their doors to people like us. It hurts me when I see countries closing their borders because we are fleeing war. We live in a state of misery.
It's a desperation that they no longer feel because they can now imagine a peaceful future for their children, Omar and Masa. Melissa Butts, Currents News.
That vital Vatican summit about young people and the church wraps up on Sunday. A great source of the latest information about the synod is the Tablet newspaper. Editor-in-chief Jorge Dominguez is here with a preview of the coverage in this week's paper. Jorge, I am excited about this interview because many Brooklynites will be very happy to hear that a bishop that they know very well is a big figure in this synod. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, he is. And of course, Bishop Caggiano was the auxiliary bishop of Brooklyn. Everybody knows him here. And he was elected as one of the 4 American bishops to go to the synod. And in the synod, every bishop makes a speech. I mean, but there are 250 speeches. His speech really resonated in the synod and outside the synod. He talked about 2 very important things. The first thing, he talked about how to evangelize young people in the media they prefer, the internet, the social media, in those places, how we need to evangelize the young people there where they are. And the second thing that was very important about his speech, and you are going to read that too in the paper, is that he was the first bishop to talk about the sexual abuse crisis in the synod. And a lot of young people wanted to hear about that.
Bishop Caggiano, a very powerful speaker, a very passionate speaker, so I'm not surprised. But there is one rumor that's circling around Bishop, that he could be a possible replacement for Cardinal Wuerl in the Washington Archdiocese. Did he address that in the interview?
You are completely right, Liz, but if you want to know all the details, you have to read the tablet this week.
Oh my goodness, that's not fair. But you're right. That is a fair point, and I know readers will really do that. But Jorge, one of the big topics youngsters wanted to talk about was sexuality. Did the bishops, they are finally discussing that though. What are they saying?
Well, they are saying several things. Actually, young people, in the synod, they have small groups divided by language, and in those groups is where the conversation about sexual matters started, and it's about how young people see sexuality, and of course the different preference of sexuality, and of course the sexual abuse crisis. The 3 things were topics, hot topics in the small group. Something very interesting, Cardinal Supich said, the final document is going to address these issues, and it's going to be a very inclusive message.
You are very excited about this issue. I can see it in your face. 30 seconds. Why should we subscribe to this?
It is a very important issue because it is important for the young people, and this synod is about the young people, but also because it is very important to define how people outside the church see the church.
Right. Thank you so much, Jorge. Very good point, and I thank you so much for joining me. As
Thank you,
always,
Liz.
supporting the tablet ensures that Catholic journalism will thrive well into the future. These are stories that oftentimes they just can't be found anywhere else. So subscribe to the tablet right now. You get up to 55% off. Go to the website, thetablet.org/home55, or call 1-877-883-8356. At Brooklyn's St. Francis College this morning, a prayer vigil for Mother Earth. The gathering took place after the UN published a report about the dangers of climate change, finding that if there are no changes made by 2030, Mother Earth does not have a promising future. The faithful at the vigil attended in the spirit of St. Francis of Assisi to care for God's children.
So that we have to be very wise in our life choices and how we deal with regards to Holy Mother Earth, and make sure we protect the care of creation.
And following the prayer vigil, a mass was held on campus to recognize the students who work towards promoting a cleaner Mother Earth. St. Francis College has a group dedicated to raising awareness about global warming. Still to come on Currents News, a big festival is planned to promote the evangelization of the Catholic faith. I talked with the man behind the Array of Hope. And only one ticket gave the hope of riches forever. There's a winner of that Mega Millions that topped the $1 billion mark. We'll be right back. Evangelization comes in different forms, from the pulpit, through Catholic press, and even from center stage. One Christian group has mastered the art of evangelizing the faith using the latter as a major platform. Every year, Array of Hope brings hundreds of people together for an evening of live musical performances, film premieres, and fellowship. The man behind it all, Mario Costabile, he's the executive director and producer of Array of Hope, and a familiar face on NetTV2. He joins me now to talk more about this spectacular annual gala. Mario, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
I'm thinking spectacular is a bit of an understatement. So please give us a brief preview of the type of entertainment that attendees can expect this Thursday.
Well, what we like to do, unlike a typical gala, we really like to put the attendees in an Array of Hope environment. So we show films, there's lots of multimedia, we share the faith, we play music. We really put them in a situation where the Holy Spirit invokes them to really experience their faith.
All right, I want to get deeper into the experience in a short while, but before we dig that deep, set the stage by explaining Array of Hope's mission.
The mission of Array of Hope is really to evangelize to families, young people, and experience the Catholic Church in a way that might be unique to them. Draw them into the teachings of the Church in a way that's relevant to their time, to the culture that they experience, and really grow closer to Christ, grow closer to the Church.
All right, so now that we understand the why, let's talk about the who, let's talk about the spectacular. Tell us about this year's honorees. Why are they being recognized?
Well, we always honor a single person, our Sister B, who's Sister Brittany Harrison, who's a Salesian sister. She's on Relevant Radio a lot. She's going to be honored because she really draws the young people to the Church in a way that's relatable. And also, she's a religious, so that the kids really look up to her. And our second honoree is Kurt and Margie Conrich, who are special needs advocates. They have a child who has Down syndrome, and they kind of try to inform mothers who prenatally are diagnosed with children that might have a prenatal disposition to Down syndrome, to really give them education and to really inform them to make the right choice.
With all this talk about children and the youth, World Youth Day in Panama right around the corner, and I can't help but notice that a lot of young people have attended past galas. I've been watching some past events. How important is that?
I think it's really important. I think the future of our church is the young. So to have them experience something that is exciting, that is engaging, to draw them to the church, I think is good. It's a good thing.
Where do the proceeds from the gala go?
Well, I mean, we're a 501c3 not-for-profit, so we really put them toward our productions, we put them toward our concerts, we put them toward our retreats, so we can subsidize the events.
Now, Array of Hope's mission is all year round, every day, every day. How can people support? How can people find you? How can they help and find out more about your team?
Well, our website is arrayofhope.net, ARRAY.net, and really every dime, every penny that is given to us through donations is really put right back into evangelization. We feel that our culture today needs it. I mean, you know, it seems to be that our church is in crisis, our culture is confused. So we need good, positive content that will draw people to make them think that, you know what, Christ is our way to salvation.
Mario Costabile, that's the perfect last word. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you, and good luck with the event on Thursday.
All
right.
Amen. Thank you.
And speaking of luck, ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner.
Again, tonight's winning numbers are 28, 75, 62, 65, and the gold mega bottles 5.
The winning Mega Millions ticket was sold in Simpsonville, South Carolina, and there's no word yet on who exactly won the prize, but they have 180 days to come forward and claim their $1.6 billion prize. But don't give up on winning just yet. There's still the Powerball jackpot, which is now valued at $620 million. That drawing is tonight, so for everyone playing, good luck with that. That is Currents News. I'm Liz Faublas. Thank you so much for joining us, because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.